it's a late night podcast. It's 1:30 in the morning, and Amanda and I are podcasting. It's time to crank out another one of these Rage Like podcasts. I'm Jeff.
I'm wasted.
You don't ever get wasted.
I never get wasted.
I offered you 16 beers, and you were like, I will have 2. And I said, it's 16 or nothing.
Yeah, that's the problem, Jeff.
I only buy them in 32 packs.
I asked for a glass of water. You forced me to have 16 beers.
I adhere to a very strict old world. The water's very dirty. Anyway, so yeah, we've got a lot to talk about this week, so we're going to jump right in. And hey, I hope that all of you out there in Rageland are not sick of hearing about The Legend of Zelda, because I got something to say about The Legend of Zelda.
Everyone, eye roll together.
Now do it with me. This kicks off with a 3-part series of 10 to 11-minute videos that Nintendo put out this week about the making of Zelda. And I think that anybody who's interested in game development or just kind of like the artistic process in general, this is really interesting. There's a lot of like kind of nitty-gritty stuff in here that I find just immensely fascinating.
Mm-hmm. It seemed like, I didn't watch it, but from what you were telling me and the little bit I did see, that there was a lot of attention to detail that might have gone underappreciated by the general audience.
Well, I was watching the video and I was learning stuff about the combat system that I didn't know. Like the little bokoblins will throw rocks at you, and apparently if you have one of their clubs, you can hit it like a baseball and just beat them back in the face with it. I was like, I didn't even know you could do that.
I've been playing baseball wrong this whole time.
Yeah, but no, this is really interesting. They actually show, the first video shows, you saw this little like prototype demo that they made using like original Zelda graphics.
Yeah.
Just to kind of
It's like its own little game.
Yeah, the system.
Mm-hmm.
There's a point later on where they talked about how they had so many people working on it that eventually they decided like that every few months they would just stop, compile everything they had, and then everybody in the office would just sit down and play it for like a couple days. And they'd all come back with their notes about, I think that this works, I think this doesn't. Some of their early iterations, they show some screen art of like, there's one guy that was like, wouldn't it be cool if there was just giant UFOs that came down in the middle and started like zapping stuff? They have like concept art of a UFO and like Link's looking at it like, we'll do what now? But yeah, I think that this is a really nice little insight into Zelda, and I think that it shows. I think the fact that they were gaming their prototypes with the original Zelda kind of speaks to, I think, why this new one plays so much like original Zelda. And as always, as every time I have Zelda or I have a problem, I thought a lot this week about like expressing why I like this new Zelda so much from like a conceptual standpoint. Okay. So if we could take a brief detour here, everybody get in the car, follow me along on this journey. It'll be fine. It's 2 rights and a left. It's right down the street. So I'm sure that you can probably relate to this. Okay. There is a concept in video games that I really, really like. I feel like video games a lot of times are on a sliding scale, where at one side you have storytelling, and on the other side you have freedom. That when you have a story that you desperately want to tell in a specific way, you have to constrain player freedom. And I feel like a lot of times, even in some open world games, you'll see that by games that like open up, but then when it comes time for story, you get funneled back into a very small area because you have to be able to control kind of what the player's experiencing, like in what order they're experiencing it. You need limitations, right?
Yeah.
Now, I'm not saying that you have to sacrifice one for the other, but I feel like there's a sliding scale that if you want to tell the most controlled story possible, you have to take a lot of freedom away from the player. On the other end of the spectrum is freedom, and I think that games like open world games, like everything now, but like Grand Theft Auto, or like one of the reasons I liked Watch Dogs so much was because they would give you a situation and they would give you this verb set of things that you could use to solve it. So if you want to use stealth, you could do that. If you want to go in blasting, you can do that. If you want to like do a combination, or I like games that do that. It's like why I like Deus Ex so much, is because every situation they let you really customize and build up your own verb set for how you want to deal with it. So if you want to be sneaky, you can be sneaky, but if you want to just, go in guns blazing, or
it's almost like the game allows you to adapt it to your style of gameplay.
Right. And so then I feel like what you get when you have that sort of verbiage is you get a very personal experience for you because you're doing the game the way that you want to do the game. Like if you want to be very sneaky, you can be very sneaky, and if you don't, you don't. So I feel like most of the modern Zelda games, everything from Ocarina of Time up, sits pretty far to the story side of the spectrum. That once they moved from A Link to the Past to the Ocarina of Time, and Ocarina of Time, it's not totally over there, but that there's dungeons, you need to do them, you want to do them, and then you're going to do this part, and then you're going to do this part, and then you're going to get the Triforce, then you're going to fight Ganon, and then it's going to be over.
Yeah.
And that everything in those games, I feel like, was a means to an end in a lot of ways. You could still go explore, but it was much less like, when you think of the original NES Zelda, it's just like, there was not even a prologue. There was barely even a story. It was like 3 lines in the instruction booklet. Here's a sword. Fucking get out there. Do it.
Ready
and so
go.
You would figure stuff out. You'd be like, oh shit, bombs like can blow up when there's a crack in the wall, and like, oh, I got the raft, or I got the ladder, or I got the bow, and so suddenly the things that I can do in this world are slightly different because I got this new thing. But I can still just wander around. I can go to places that I shouldn't be, or you go to a place where you get really confused and you're like, why does this forest last forever? Blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
And I feel like that sense of just generalized adventure was less and less the more you got down the Zelda road up until Breath of the Wild. And the reason that I like Breath of the Wild so much is because it does feel very free, very just kind of do what you want, but in a very Nintendo way where just running from one side of point A to point B where you need to go, like you constantly need to be getting food, so you're constantly like hunting animals along the way. Like, oh, there's a rock. I bet there's a Korok under that rock. I'm going to go pick it up. Oh, look, there he is. Now I got some upgrade materials.
Yeah.
Wait, what's that over there? I see a glowing shrine. Let me mark that on my map for later. And like, oh, it's nighttime. Some skeletons are after me. Or like, oh, this happened. Or oh, this happened. And so unlike a lot of open world games, I feel like Zelda has felt really good because the world feels full. I'm constantly like just figuring out new stuff to do or getting new things. And it just feels like a big old adventure. It feels like my idea of what I want a really good open world game to be. In fact, I feel like it feels like what I liked so much about Metal Gear Solid 5 was that you had all these different ways that you could approach a situation. You could take a sniper rifle, you could drop a cargo container on a guy, you could walk up in a cardboard box and trick him. And I feel like this Zelda is actually a lot more
There's
like
cardboard
that game.
boxes in Zelda?
No, but there are masks that you could put on, and the dumb enemies can't tell you from each other. I mean, I've actually thought it's one of the things I want to do is go get a chicken and throw it in the middle of a fight and see if one of the enemies hits it enough, if the fucking chicken rain will come down and kill them off. But in any case, I've been really, 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 really enjoying the game. I think it's very well put together. It does have limitations and problems. Cooking becomes a little meh after the billionth time that you've done it, right? I kind of wish there was a quicker way to do it. And at this point, I'm really focused on doing this one set of objectives, and that can sometimes be a bummer when you're not just kind of wandering because there's a specific NPC that I need to find and I can't find him anywhere. And the world's big. I don't want to just keep bopping from one side to the other.
You just scour just a little bit at a time.
Just
comb the
just start at the top of the map, walk to the other side of the map, and then go down like 30 feet and then just go backwards. We're going to do this in a grid formation.
Yeah, exactly.
But I've honestly really been enjoying it, and it's been I think I said this last week. I think I said it on the stream, or I might have said it on the podcast. Again, this Zelda feels more like it's for me than a lot of the previous ones. And I like that. So if this is the direction that Nintendo's going, where it feels a little bit older than the stuff on the Wii U and the Wii, which there was a lot of cutesy Mario games, and I know there's going to be a cutesy Mario game, but like, I like this. I like the fact that the Binding of Isaac came out on the Switch this week.
Did it? Oh my God.
Yeah.
Stop trying to make me buy the Switch, Jeff. Jesus.
Well, you know what? Full disclosure. When I had my Switch downstairs and I was sitting on the couch, I was losing synchronization with the controller because the Switch was sitting next to my router and it was just fucking it up.
Oh.
So, in my recording room where I'm sitting like 2 feet from it, it's fine. It's fine when it's hooked up. There are problems with it, and everybody knows. I don't even think this is a thing I need to I don't even need to ding Nintendo about this. Every company in the world, the third iteration of their thing is better than the first one, right? Like the PlayStation Pro is better than the shipping PlayStation 4s.
Yeah.
The latest iPhones are better than, the iPhones that came before that.
I wouldn't know. I don't get iPhones. But yes, I understand what you're saying.
So, early adoption is for people who don't give a shit that there's a bunch of problems.
Is for suckers.
AKA suckers.
Anyway, John has the PSVR. So.
What a sucker.
Not me, though.
But before we move on, I do want to say one other thing. This week, Rage Select audience, I'm talking to you because I feel like you and I, we're good. We're cool. We're bros, right? Mm-hmm. You're going to be good. You're going to be cool about this. We need to dial this back a little bit, all right? Because last week, I read 2 different stories, right?
Yeah.
Jim Sterling gave Breath of the Wild a 7 out of 10.
Oh, the courage.
Yeah. Oh. And in return, his site got DDoS'd, and people were trying to hack his social media account and generally just being like little shits to him.
Wow.
Fucking cut it out. Like, who gives a shit?
Yeah.
Play your game. Play the game and have fun. On the other hand, there's also been people brigading the Metacritic user score with straight zeros for Breath of the Wild, with reviews that literally say, I haven't played this game. I will never play it. This is for the paid reviews. I'm using my quotey fingers here. The paid reviews by Nintendo fanboys who this is not a 10 out of 10. Fuckers, people, humans, it's all subjective, man. I could give Fight Club a 10 out of 10, and you could think it's the worst movie you've ever seen, and we're both right. Guess what? There's no such thing. There's no, because...
I said this. I said this in the live stream, so I will reiterate. But everyone's opinion is going to be different. Everyone's opinion is based on their own personal, life experiences, their own personal experiences with whatever game we're talking about.
Yep.
And so there's no right or wrong when it comes to an opinion. Reviews are kind of bullshit in that sense because you're not asking for them to tell you if a game is good. You're asking if that person enjoyed playing that game.
Yeah.
And so, they can say, oh, this is a good game, but I'm still only going to give it 2 out of 10 stars because I didn't enjoy it. It was a well-made game, but it wasn't fun.
Sure.
That, and that's somebody's opinion. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So why?
And the thing,
why the anger?
I think the thing about this whole concept that bothers me, and it bothers me every single time that it comes up, is that there's a degree of you got to think like me.
Mm-hmm.
I thought Zelda was okay. And I'll say it for both sides. Well, I thought Zelda was okay. And somebody's like, no, it was fucking awesome. And you're like, I've had this for years about The Dark Knight, right? Where I'm like, I like it. It's fine. I just don't think it's a fucking cinematic masterpiece worthy of all the acclaim. And people get mad at me for not liking it the same as they do.
Yeah, well, you're a monster.
Correct. On the other hand...
Also, yes.
I am a monster. I'm a monster. On the other hand, I like Star Wars Battlefront. And there's plenty of people out there who are just like, fuck that game. No single player, fucking the DLCs, blah, 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 whatever. And they'll sit there and argue with you until Kingdom Come, trying to make you feel the same way that they feel.
Yeah.
And I guess what I don't entirely understand is why it's so important for me to think the same as you. Why it's so important that because you like Dark Knight,
because they want to be validated.
But
and they love you, Jeff. They love you.
But it's meaningless. My validation is meaningless. And you know what? I can almost understand it when it's somebody who likes a thing more than you do, and they're trying to make a case for why you should like a thing more.
Mm-hmm.
I don't understand it when people don't like a thing and they will not rest until they ruin it for you.
They just want to poop all over your party.
Right.
Yeah.
And the more that people do this, the more entrenched I feel like everybody gets, because I've had things that I kind of liked where people, or like friends of mine, every time it came up, they just hammer it and they'd hammer on me 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 until the point where I'm finally just like, okay, fine, I don't like it. Or like it just kind of got ruined because you just have somebody talking shit about a thing 24 hours a day. You're just like, shut up. I like it. Why would you want to take a thing away from me?
Yeah.
And
it just sucks. I don't know. I don't understand why the internet has to be so binary about everything. It's like either you love it or you hate it. If you're like, oh yeah, like that, yeah, I saw it. It was all right. Everyone's like, how fucking dare you?
It will not stand. That's the worst opinion to have, because now you're sitting between the people who think it's the worst thing and the people who think it's the best thing, and neither one of them will brook any other opinion. It's like you pick a side.
Oh, yeah. No, for sure. I got a little bit for the female Ghostbusters.
Oh, yeah?
Because I said it was a good movie. Like, I didn't love it. I didn't think it was the greatest movie. I didn't say we should burn all the other Ghostbuster movies because this is now
but we should.
This is now the greatest Ghostbusters movie. I just said I I didn't hate it. I went and I saw it. It had a lot of flaws, but there was a lot of good in it, and I enjoyed it. And people were like, no. And it's just like, I'm just going to stop talking about it then.
Yeah. So, just chill. Yeah. Let people like a thing they like or dislike a thing that they don't like. And if you are going to get into an intense argument about somebody, maybe pick something besides The Legend of Zelda. Perhaps politics or religion. Like, if you're
a safer argument.
If you're going to get into a real shitbag scream and knockdown argument, maybe not make it be about Batman, and maybe make it be about, like things, the tax code or something. I don't know.
Yes, sure.
Anyway.
Is this going to become a politics show?
Fuck no. I'm just saying that the level of vehemence, and I'll never, it's left such an impact on me because we're going to veer off slightly here back to the old days, something I don't really talk about. But one of the times when I got a Dark Knight person was from my old boss, Corey Coleman, who, as you well know, is usually a really easygoing guy that is just fun for days, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, and somebody was talking about I think he asked me, and he's like, you saw Dark Knight? And I was like, yeah, I thought it was all right. And it was a cloud descended. His expression turned like to stone, and he was like, what do you mean, all right?
Right, yeah.
Anyway, all right, let's move on from there because we got to... they're putting out Runner 3 on the Switch.
You seem really psyched about this.
Okay, here's the thing. Sometimes there's a thing, and sometimes that thing is a thing that you're like, fuck that thing. And then for some reason, that thing, it's like you end up with that thing, and you're like, wait a minute, I don't know.
This is super confusing. Could you...
Maybe don't fuck that thing. Maybe that thing's all right. Maybe that's really good. Maybe that's my favorite thing now. Yeah. And that's what happened to me with Runner 2.
Nice.
Because it was like... It was an endless. It was kind of like I thought it was like an endless runner game. It's actually just a reflex. It's kind of like a rhythm game almost. But yeah, they're making a third one for the Switch. If you haven't ever played Bit Trip Runner 2, go check it out. This looks crazy and fun. And
if you don't like it, Jeff says you're an idiot.
That's right. You're the worst. You're the worst. Get off my website.
Did he always have a rainbow shooting out of his butt?
I think in some iterations, yes. I don't know what they did in the second one, but yeah, that's Commander. What's his name? Commander Video. But yeah, these are real fun little games. If you haven't, I mean, the second one is available on all kinds of different platforms, and they're real simple. He's basically just always running in one direction.
Yeah.
And then you get these different powers where it's like, okay, so you're going to start by just jumping. And you're jumping, your perfect jumps are in time with the music in the background. The music's really good.
Yeah.
So you end up just jumping. And the next level, it's like slides. And then you got to like jump, and then you got to slide. And then you got to slide, jump, slide. And then, like, by the time you get to level 6, you've got like 12 different things, and you need to do them all, and they start getting faster and faster.
Yeah.
And so it's not a difficult game, but it is addictive because you're like, it restarts immediately. Like, it resets just in the blink of an eye.
Yeah.
Like, there's barely any death animation.
So is it one of those games where you get like tunnel vision while you're playing it, where you just get real focused in?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's also got fantastic music and completely bizarro visuals. This level we're looking at is like fish and graham crackers, and
there's like milk crates with eyeballs on them.
Yep, just all kinds of weirdness.
I love it.
It's very nutty. I can't wait to play this.
I like how serious the moon looks in that.
Reminds me of Battle Block Theater.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, I get that.
Next up, let's talk about everything.
Okay, so first.
Okay.
No, I don't know.
All right, let's go down. Let's start at the beginning. Aardvarks. All right, what do you think? Yes, no?
I don't think I've ever seen an aardvark.
Okay, they're terrifying.
Am I on that list? I have to be pretty high up. My name's AA. Am I part of everything?
Well,
don't tell me no. I will have an existential crisis on this podcast.
Depends on what we're doing. Are we going for a list of all words, or are we going from the dictionary because they don't put proper nouns?
It's everything.
So anyway, this is a crazy trailer. It's also 10 minutes long.
Yeah.
I've heard of this game before. This is a game where basically
the game's called Everything.
Yeah.
I mean, we said we're going to talk about everything. The game's called Everything.
Yes. Thank you for clarifying. So how do you describe this game?
I don't know, but there's bears doing like cartwheels, basically.
Yeah. So this game is kind of based on this idea of like a sandbox world where you can go from the universe down to an atom and then back again.
Yeah.
And control everything in between, and literally control everything in between. Like the trailer starts with these bears. And yeah, nothing has really detailed animation. So when the bears move, they just do these front flips.
Yeah, it's really weird. Yet the birds, besides the peacocks, anything that's touching the ground, it's doing a flip. But the birds and like butterflies flap their wings. I thought that was a really missed opportunity to have them flip in the air. But sure.
I think that the bugs, like the bugs just kind of shake back and forth.
Yeah,
and
they
crawl,
just do a little shimmy
right.
sham.
But I mean, and when we say everything, it's like it's everything. It's the plants. It's
it's like a plant to a bug to
like the dust mode on a bug to like a single celled
bacteria
to all the way. And then it's like when they go macro to like trees to literally the island that it's on that can move around.
Right. Then
to
the planet
Earth.
and then to the galaxy and then to the universe.
Yeah, and it's kind of nuts.
And it's all in a little orb on and Cat's collar.
Oh,
like in Men in Black.
It's in a snow globe. That's a general hospital.
No.
Yeah.
All in the mind of an autistic child.
It's all in the mind of an autistic child.
Who's talking in the trailer?
This is okay. So let me lay out. This is from David O'Reilly, who, near as I could tell, the game that he made that most people probably know is called Monument, which was a big thing on iOS. That was this really fun little game with this little guy that walking up a thing.
Yeah.
This is his next game, and then there's this philosopher named Alan Watts, and this would be without. Just as we've described it, it would be kind of weird. But the whole point of this is that while you're doing this Alan Watts guy is kind of like the Bastion narrator, except he's just fucking filling your head full of $12 words and concepts about it was weird. I found myself getting strangely calm as I watched the trailer with this guy talking about the nature of life and systems and circles.
Almost a religious experience.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like it's almost preachy, but kind of scientific, but also kind of not. It's not like he's like spouting facts at you. He's just very like, and this is connected to that, and when there's millions of atoms in your hand, but you still only call it a hand, and it's like, I mean, yeah, I'm not going to name every atom.
So what I'm going to say right now is, if you're interested in this game, Everything, you might want to wait until 4/19 to launch it, and then, if you know what I'm saying, then just maybe like another 60 seconds before you start playing it. I'm saying get super high.
Yeah, I got you. No, I got you.
in case you're not picking up what I'm putting down.
Rage Select does not support the Devil's Lettuce.
No, that's not true. Rage Select supports the Devil's Lettuce.
Oh, okay.
But if you smoke it and then you try to like tell a cop I did this because of Rage Select, nobody's gonna. I mean, like, what are they gonna charge me with?
They're gonna be like, because of what? What's a Rage Select?
Is that
the name of your drug dealer?
If I have to answer the door, if there are cops at my door, shut this podcast down. We're turning around. We're going back to episode 1. Nobody's gonna go to Grandma's house. That's just the way it's gonna go. But anyway, this looks really interesting, and I give this thing full credit and lots of points for being
different,
something weird and different. Yeah.
I'm all about that weird shit.
Yeah. So I can't wait to actually check this out, because I've actually seen other videos for it where it's like in a city and there'll be like cars, and the cars are also doing the little flips.
Oh, nice.
And
That's
then you can like switch to a building, and the building's like, because whenever anything moves in this game, it'll either like do a flip or like sometimes it'll do
like
this,
a grow forward.
Yeah. Where it like goes forward, but there are copies of it behind it, and like buildings or people or ants or whatever. There's a part towards the end where there's some ships that are rolling along, and but it looks interesting. I mean, just as an interactive I don't know if it's going to be a game. I think it's going to be more of like an interactive experience.
Yeah. Not to harp on the drug thing.
Yeah.
You mentioned weed, but I feel like, do you think somebody watching somebody else play this on LSD would just have the fucking, just their mind completely altered by the end of it?
Dude, I want to play this game on LSD. Welcome to the dojo. I'm tripping balls.
Jeff versus everything.
No, but the problem with that is that when I do acid, I tend to get lost. I tend to lose my sense of self very easily. So I wouldn't be able to talk and play at the same time. I would just be like, So
that'd be amazing. I feel like everyone wants to see that.
I've only really ever played PlayStation 1 games while on acid, and I think that's about as far as
I've never been on acid. I don't do drugs.
Yeah.
I'm boring.
All right. Well, next up, let's talk about boring sales figures.
I'd like not to.
Okay. February sucked, according to the NPD. I think this is interesting. NPD reports come out, for the previous month.
Mm-hmm.
I don't always read them, but I do like to remind people from time to time that in the ranking of games that sold, For Honor was number 1. It's also worth noting that the hardware sales were down 30% from the last year, and retail game sales were down 20% from the previous year. But For Honor was number 1. Resident Evil 7 was number 2. And this is where it gets a little strange, because number 3 was Grand Theft Auto 5, a game that has been out for 2 years now. Number 6 was Call of Duty Infinite Warfare. And I only bring that up because I feel like it's worth noting, it's worth reminding everybody, as much as we're all fucking sick of Call of Duty and we're all over Call of Duty and like, when the fuck are they going to stop making Call of Duty? Well, not as long as it's number 6 after 3 or 4 months, still in the sales. Rainbow Six Siege is after that.
Are these only physical copies being sold, or does this include digital?
I can't tell. I don't know.
Because I thought I just read a thing that said that Horizon was like the best. Well, actually, that could have been a Sony published thing.
Yeah. I mean, like, for example, there's different qualifiers. Like, I think Halo Wars 2 was like really high up on that list, but it was like the 4th best-selling Xbox One game or something like that.
Yeah, I think that's what the thing was. I think I'm...
But Neo was number 9, and Overwatch was numero 10. But that's mostly just a note to say, remember, games like Grand Theft Auto 5, like, the fucking... You know how much money Rockstar is making off of that one game? Like, my God.
$5.
I don't... If it's $5, it's $5 after 2 years. Like, my Lord in heaven. Jeez. All right. Speaking of making tons of money for not doing all that much, Sony is bringing...
Yes, how are you? Oh.
PS4 games to PlayStation Now, which is weird. Because PlayStation Now is that streaming service where it's like you're streaming a PS3 game. Do you know about this?
Is that like the quote-unquote rental thing that you pay for it to have access to it, but once you stop paying, you don't still have access to those? Yeah,
well, what it is it's imagine... like, the best way that I can think of to describe this is imagine if Netflix was a video game. So, like, you're playing a PlayStation 3 game, but what's actually happening is you're streaming the video of that game being rendered on an offsite server, and then when you use the controller, your control inputs are going to that same server and then controlling the game that is then streamed back.
That kind of sounds like it takes 5 days for something to happen in your video game.
There's a slight delay. It's enough that it feels slightly unnatural. Like, I don't really like it. I think that would be fine if you're playing an RPG, but for regular games, I feel like, but then I don't know. Like, maybe if you Google Fiber, maybe it's the tits. Maybe it's fucking awesome. But they recently took this service off of the PlayStation 3 and the PlayStation Vita. So now it's only on the PS4 and the PC, which is the interesting thing, because streaming PS4 games to a PS4 doesn't really make a whole shitload of sense. I mean, PlayStation Now is like $6 a month, so you could do that to get access to back catalog. But it is kind of interesting, the idea of if you had if this service remains viable and is fast enough, that you could then play PS4 games on your PC just by getting this PlayStation Now account without actually even owning a PlayStation 4. which would be fascinating because that would give your PC folks access to some really, ostensibly, depending, maybe, Bloodborne, maybe Uncharted 4, maybe some of the games that PC players want to play. The thing is that it still sounds like there's still a little bit of wonkiness in the service. So, I don't know.
It's kind of a weird thing that's happening.
It's, well, in all honesty, I've said this before whenever this comes up, but I feel like this shit, if they can get it worked out, is the future, because all the hardware necessary to render the games is stored off-site. So all you need is a fast enough internet connection, which means that console, you wouldn't need a console. If you had a TV that had whatever, like if there was a universal streaming protocol on it that Sony built or that somebody built, that everything could use this. You could have a computer that didn't need a box. You could have a PlayStation that just needed that you could play on a tablet, because all you're concerned about is streaming uploads and downloads. Like all the hardware rendering is done off-site.
Yeah.
So I love the idea of living in a world where everything is through that. Your desktop computer, your console, everything runs through that style of streaming service if they can make it instantaneous, because it means that all of your devices don't need anything outside of a really solid network connection in an input method, which means that something like a pair of glasses that can access, that you can play PlayStation 4 games on, actually starts to become somewhat feasible. Like if you could hook a visor up to your phone and your phone was fast enough on the network to be able to do this sort of thing.
You're jumping far into the future, Jeff.
Not that far. Not that far. If only they would bring Google Fiber to my neighborhood. That's all I'm saying.
Man.
I've been waiting.
I would move in next door.
I've been waiting for years. All right. We are now officially over time, so let's speed this up a little bit.
Whose fault is that, Jeffrey?
My fault. The city of Washington is sponsoring the NRG Esports team. This is a team. This is Washington, D.C. This is a team that does Counter-Strike, Global Offensive, Super Smash Brothers, For Honor, and more. And the city is literally giving them money for their efforts.
Do they gain anything from it? The city, I
think they gain a sponsorship role. I don't know. I don't really.
They're like, sure.
Well, it's part of the city's. Specifically, it's an initiative by the city to basically trying to look cool.
Yeah.
Like to bring younger people into DC so that it's not just the what's that movie, In the Loop? It's just a bunch of people in suits swearing at each other. I do like this though, because I think that esports are fascinating, and I think that the populace at large ignores them like crazy.
Yeah, it's like a whole other world to me.
I think it's fascinating, and I really want it to be enough of a mainstream thing, because when I go to the bar by my house, they have sports on 6 different channels, and there was a time where one of them was Heroes of the Dorm, and I was like, oh my God, this is incredible. I'm sitting in a bar watching a sport on TV like, what are you doing? You can't mid-lane Diablo. Look, they're capturing the top tower. And suddenly it's like I was that guy at the wing bar screaming at the television, except I was screaming at a bunch of nerds playing Heroes of the Storm.
Meanwhile, everyone else around you is like, Jesus Christ.
It was Sunday, and there was like 6 people in the whole bar. I was like, fuck that, man. This is my regular bar where I tip heavily, and there's 6 other people in here, and most of them are way over there. I'm just gonna sit here and be like, yeah, go, go, go. So yeah, I think this is cool. Every time I see an esports thing, I kind of want to just like, yeah. There's a trailer.
Yes, there is.
There is a trailer. Let's file this one. Let's open up the A through C drawer of the filing cabinet, and let's tab down in the little manila folders, which is a thing that nobody knows what I'm talking about anymore.
Yeah, they're like, what?
Yeah. And let's file this under completely missing the point. So there's a trailer this week for Reservoir Dogs, Bloody Days, coming in 2017 to Steam. Now, Amanda, you've seen Reservoir Dogs, right?
Yeah, I've watched the first and second movie.
What second movie? Is there a second movie? Is there Reservoir Dogs 2?
No.
Okay. Because I was going to stop this podcast and go watch it.
Just wanted to see your face.
So, watching Reservoir Dogs, would you be like, hey, you know what needs to be a video game? That.
No.
because
maybe like a Telltale game.
Maybe a Telltale game, right? Right? Or like a David Cage game, right?
Yeah.
You know, like so this trailer, if you go to watch it, is 25 seconds long, and it basically looks like Hotline Miami.
Yeah.
It's just shooting and blasting and blasting and shooting and shooting and blasting and destruction. And it's like a top down, and there's just like gouts and mountains of blood.
Yeah.
It's got a very cartoony look to it. It just doesn't like it's like when they made, are you aware of the fact that at one point they made a Fight Club fighting game, like a Street Fighter style?
I feel like I knew that.
Yeah. It's like you have missed the point.
Yeah, there's like not yeah.
It was a story about characters, not about shooting cops. Like, the one character is super pissed off that Michael Madsen shot like 2 people in the store.
And now they're shooting 19 people in 25 seconds.
Yeah, and this is just like, oh, we're going to blast every single cop that there is.
I'm still more upset that the music that plays in those 25 seconds is generic.
It needs to be a little green bag, right?
Yes.
Yeah. I don't know. I put this with all of the rest of the completely ill. Also, how long has it been since Reservoir Dogs came out? This is not exactly.
It's just a few years, right?
like a decade? Like 2 decades? Like maybe longer than that?
Oh yeah, probably.
Like, I'm gonna be 40 next year, so like I don't think I was 20 when Resident Evil. Reservoir Dogs came out.
Nice.
I'm pretty sure I was more like 16 or 17, which makes this shit like more than 20 years old. I don't understand what in the fuck. I really don't.
Yeah, I don't know. It felt very hollow. I mean, even in a short amount of time, it feels very like we just threw a name of something popular on this game.
I mean, I'd have more respect for this game if it was called something else.
Mm-hmm.
If it was called fucking Heist Explosion or,
if it was just called Bloody Days.
Yeah, if it was just called Bloody Days, kill a bunch of cops. Yeah, that'd be fine.
Yeah, let's not play the cop killing game.
Yeah. Last, but certainly not least, Rock Band 4 is getting some new things. And one of the things that Rock Band 4 is getting is the song, the classic by Kenny Loggins, Danger Zone. But not just that. Also, you can now make the lead singer of your band, Sterling Mallory Archer, from the show Archer, singing Danger Zone. Except there's a couple of things that bother me about this.
What?
One is that they obviously just mapped an Archer skin onto one of the Rock Band like characters because of the way that he's like the moves that he has obviously just look like one of the main characters from Rock Band.
Right.
And 2, if you were really going to do this, are you telling me that you couldn't have gone to H. John Benjamin and been like, "Hey, HJ, I'll give you $1,000 if you just come over to the studio and sing Danger Zone for me real fast. Like, I want the alternate full-on H. John Benjamin singing Danger Zone."
I feel like that is not going to sound too great.
That's the whole point.
No.
That's the whole point.
I don't know if it's worth it. You have to sing with him, though. So if he sings bad, you have to literally sing poorly.
No, it's fine
to match.
Well, no, but I'm not saying replace. I'm not saying they release only the Archer version.
You
release the.
But
Archer.
You want an Archer version.
I want an Archer version. Yeah.
Yeah, that's weird.
Also, there's a bunch of like different characters that that apparently you can get in Rock Band now, like something from, let's see, Mass Effect Andromeda themed outfits. There's like one other thing. But yeah, I don't know. It's pretty cool though. I don't know. It kind of makes me want to get my Rock Band out, but I really don't want to find all the shit that belongs to Rock Band.
Yeah.
Just to play Danger Zone one time and then put it all back away again.
I feel like you're going to though.
I named my dog after the guy. All right. I can't. So, all right. And with that, we're going to go ahead and we're going to take a break. When we come back, we've got questions to answer. So stick around and we'll be right back. And we're back. And it is now 2:22 in the morning.
Now they'll know the secrets about like how long we take in between everything.
Oh yeah, what break time is like. Well, and it's time for questions. And mail@rageselect.com is the email address. We got a great bunch of questions this week. Also, you know what? I just want to give an additional shout out at this point to the patrons of Rage Select, because last month was the best month we've had. Like, I think it might have been better than any of the months that we had over the last year. Like, if you guys keep this shit up, got no problem. I can start paying people again. I can start getting like if we had the level of patronage that we have right now, we could afford to go to E3. I could afford to hire an intern.
Wow.
I could afford to pay people. Like, if it was consistent the way that it is right now, every month last year.
You guys are the real MVPs.
Yeah. So I would sit here and read your names, but there's something like 400 of you, so
and we can't pronounce people's names half the time.
Just be like,
we just
John Smithington, Alan Franklin, and Susan Martinez. Like, just this is really boring podcast.
Yeah, that would be amazing, kind of though.
So, yeah, mail@rageselect.com is the email address. Keep them coming. We need your questions. And our first one this week comes in from Oscar, who I don't recognize from as one of our regular writers. So here we go.
New question asking Oscar.
Oscar says, hey, Jeff and Amanda, here's a quick non-video game question.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen an anime called Boku?
No.
And if not, if you're not familiar, here's a quick review. And there's a YouTube video.
Yes.
And it's basically just one of those motion typography videos of this guy who's like, yo, oh no, my friend sent me these videos and I watched them and oh no, and he's just like lamenting how terrible and fucked up the videos were that he watched, and he just keeps saying yo. So on to the meat of Oscar's question. What have you seen that you were warned not to see and saw anyway? I thought a Serbian film was bad, but I saw that probably 3 times. The other 2 tricking friends into watching it. Yo, I couldn't even finish this one. Well, thanks for all the hard work and time you put in for the fans, Oscar. P.S. I'll listen to your podcast no matter how long or short they are.
Yay!
So the question is, have you ever been warned, like, don't look at that or don't watch that or don't listen to that, and then you do, and then you're like, oh, why did I do that?
I'm a product of the internet.
Okay.
So
dead inside, no feelings, reactions,
kind of
0.
Yeah. So like I've seen and don't Google it, whatever. Lemon Party, Meat Spin, 2 Girls, 1 Cup.
Please, people, don't.
The Pain Olympics.
Don't.
Blue Waffle. What is it? Tub Girl. I could keep going, but then you'll all know real odd secrets about me.
So, okay, I have a story about this because I'm largely in the same situation that you are, where, like, as far as like movies go, I've never watched a Serbian film, not because of like the big thing, which I already know, but because I'm just like, I don't know, it looks like a bad movie. I don't want to watch that.
Yeah, I've seen clips and I'm like, whatever.
But like when I watch a movie, I mean, I don't know, like I watched Martyrs and there were some parts in there that were kind of like, yeesh, God, blah. But I generally don't, I mean, like I never turn anything off, and it doesn't ever stay with me. I've got the attention span of a goddamn gnat. Yeah. Like, I'm just like, hey, let me play some Dark Souls. Yay, all right, I'm good, bye. But back in the old days, I used to have this guy that was my roommate. He was a friend of mine for a long time, and he was the one... Because a few of these happen. It's kind of because of this guy that the internet is no longer a big thing. Because he was the one when I was at work working third shift who was like, "Oh my God, check this out! This is awesome." It's like www.goatse.cx. Oh, okay, let's check this out. Goat sex. What's that? Oh, what the hell? Is that the inside of an anus? What am I looking at? Which now seems tame, right?
Yeah.
Like Goatsy isn't even a meme anymore because...
Isn't it weird that so many people know about prolapsed anuses now?
Yes.
It's strange.
Yep.
That used to be like a shameful thing.
And then he got me another one with some eels coming out of a lady at some point.
I saw one of a girl. I watched it at work, right? Like one of my coworkers came up with his cell phone, was like, "You're gonna want to see this," of somebody eating Fruit Loops out of a woman's vagina.
Okay.
And I was like, but then you kind of want it to be soggy because you don't want it to hurt her, but nobody likes eating soggy Fruit Loops, so it's just this overly complicated situation.
So For those of you, I don't know if it's around anymore, but this guy was pretty good at doing this. Like one time I came home to my house and there was a picture on the mantle that had been printed out of like a girl with an unreasonable number of carrots shoved in her hoo-ha, just like staring back at me, and I was like,
she's like, they're good for your eyes.
God damn it. So the only way to combat this was my friends and I just started to go to the Style Project every day.
Oh, Jesus.
The Style Project, for those of you who have lives and weren't around in the early internet of the 90s, was basically a website that all it did was collect the most fucked up porno on the internet and put it there for people to look at. So the only way that I could keep this guy from doing this was to become so familiar with this stuff.
Yeah, that nothing was shocking anymore.
One, nothing was shocking, and two, he'd send me a thing that was just like, tubgirl.jpg, and it'd be like, seen it, bro.
Yeah.
It's fine. But then it was around Two Girls, One Cup where I was just like, you know what? I know what that is. I don't feel the need to watch it. I haven't watched it to this day. It was fine. I'm just fine. I mean, whatever. I'm not interested in spending my time that way.
Yeah.
But as far as like actual movies and actual TV shows and actual stuff, I think I was at a friend's house at a party one time. He's one of those weird guys that would just put like weird shit on TV, and he was like, oh my God. And I went in and he was watching that video of that guy that has the horse fuck him or whatever, and then dies from it. And I was like, is that real? And he's like, yeah. And I'm just like, what is your problem?
Yeah, why
We're
watch
having a party here. Why do I want to watch a guy get fucked by a horse? Like, that's just so.
Yeah, that's weird.
Anyway, thanks for the question, Oscar.
I imagine that he meant like movies or television.
Maybe.
Not us talking about dirty porn.
Well, no, because the thing he's talking about is hentai.
Oh, nice. Party.
Because I looked at the YouTube comments and, yeah. All right, our next question this week comes in from Danny. Danny says, hello, Jeff and Amanda. Danny, the bespectacled gamer, here in a moment of pure frustration. I'll try my best to keep this brief with a little setup. I just walked out of Kong Skull Island in the theater. During those brief 2 hours, there were many phones with blazing bright screens. There were many people snapping flash pictures. There was conversation at full volume, people standing to obscure the projector, small children running in the aisles, a baby towards the back making baby-like noises. Damn you, baby, for making your noises.
Baby-like noises.
And several pairs of feet resting on the headrests of the seats in front of them. And the cherry on the sundae of my experience, someone lit up a joint somewhere in the theater. Remember the baby and the children that I mentioned earlier? My question, why are people this way? And what would you do? I apologize for the length of my letter. I needed to tell someone, Thanks for the laughs, Danny, the bespectacled gamer.
If you're in a movie theater and it's that bad, walk out and ask for your money back. I honestly, like, they're not going to change anything if they think that it's okay.
Yep.
And you're not going to go around to an entire theater and be like, can you be more, excuse me, can you put your phone down and be more polite? You, sir, that's next to that other person. Can you also, lady with the baby, get the fuck out of Kong Skull Island.
Yep.
Like, that's just not going to work. So you
also,
better off.
puff, pass, man. What are you doing?
Yeah, like, what the shit? Did you bring enough for the whole class?
Again, devil's lettuce.
He's like, I didn't know everyone was going to show up.
The question of what would you do is immediately leave and get my money back.
Yeah.
But then I generally tend to go to theaters in Austin in one of two configurations, either Alamo Drafthouse, which will not put up with any of that shit.
Yeah.
They'll literally throw you out.
Oh, yeah, you could rat people out, too.
In fact, I told you when I went with a friend to go see Deadpool, and the people next to me were drunk and they were talking, and they were drunk. They were talking at full volume. They both had their cell phones out. I didn't rat them out, but the server came over and told them, this is your one warning. Put up your cell phones and stop talking or else you're going to be ejected. They fucking kept it up. The lady was sitting right beside me and wanted to talk. She came in 10 minutes late to Deadpool, and like things were going on, and she's like, who's that guy? And I'm just like,
like loud whispering.
And she's like, what? I want to know. And I'm just like, no. Like,
yeah, you're like, I'm not associated with you.
I don't know you. I don't know you, lady. And she kept like tapping me on the shoulder and asking me things. I'm just like,
that's annoying as shit.
And then eventually, how
expensive tickets to go see movies in the Alamo Drafthouse are?
They're like $12.
And you're gonna drink and like get kicked out, and you don't get a refund when they kick your ass out.
They went into The Witch, and they spent the first 10 minutes of Deadpool in The Witch because they went to the wrong theater.
Is this before assigned seating? Because they're all about assigned seating at this point.
No, I don't think so. I think that it might have been not a sold out. It was after The Witch had been out for a while.
That's a waiter's fault because they look at those fucking tickets.
Well, the other thing is that the waitress then came back, told them a second time. No, she said, "You got to go." And the guy was like, "You can go fuck yourself." And she left, and the manager came back and told them, "You have to go." And the guy was also like, "You also can go fuck yourself." And then she was like, "I will call the police to come and take you out of this theater if you do not leave right now."
Yeah.
And so then he got up and left, and the woman stayed there. She stayed there for like another 15 minutes.
Jesus.
On her phone, dicking with her phone.
She's probably texting him like, "You're missing the best part."
Monica Bellucci's butt is totally on the screen. She just fucked right
Snap,
off.
hang on, I'm going to send a picture. Snap.
Right. And then finally she wandered off, and it was just like, wow, because I'd already seen the movie at that point, but my friend hadn't.
Yeah.
And I was really glad that I was sitting between her and these a-holes because it was just... So why are people like that? I think that in general theaters... especially like matinee shows or in the middle of the day, people treat theaters like it's just a space rental for 2 hours, right? You can just do whatever the fuck you want to.
Just eat their AC.
Yeah. But as far as what to do, go, leave.
Yeah, ask for your money back. Do not hesitate. Just
ask for your money back and some extra, because you know what? You built your time. Your time has now been wasted because you saw a quarter of a movie that you can't enjoy.
Yeah.
When I went to go see Star Wars Episode 3, there was a group of people in front of me that were just like very into what was happening on the screen, shall we say. But the worst movie going experience that I've ever had was when I went to go see Mission Impossible 3, I believe it was, with my family. And there was this guy, and he was sitting next to me. I've told the story before. I was at the Alamo Drafthouse. We were in like the front row because we bought our tickets too late.
Yeah.
And he was a very, very loud, heavy mouth breather with a lot of like swallowing because his mouth was dried out. And
dying
everything.
In the back, like next to you, like just straight up.
He was sitting right next to me. He was in the seat right next to me, and I was there with my family, and I'm like, what am I going to do? What am I going to put up a card saying this guy's breathing?
Can you please tell him to stop breathing?
But on the other hand, I couldn't enjoy that movie.
I am so
at all
worried when I go to the Alamo. I don't like to go to the draft house anyway, but I'm so worried that when I go and I order food that I'm a louder eater than I realize. And then I'm like, everyone, they're fried pickles. Delish. Like, I just freak out at the thought that that's what I sound like while people are trying to enjoy their movie.
Yeah. So yeah. But then I don't go to that many movies. I've been to more movies recently than not, but
probably been going to more movies than I have.
Yeah,
which is tragic for me because I actually like going to the movie theater.
That's true. It's very true. All right, next up we've got. Let's see. This one comes from Guy, who says, "Ding dong, Jeff, and whatever beautiful co-host you're partnered with this week."
It's me.
There you go. I'm very curious about something that may unearth some painful, repressed memories. What were high school and college like for you guys? I ask because although I live in England, I'm graduating from high school this year to go off to college in the U.S., and I'm intrigued about what you studied, what your social lives were like, and just how you found the experiences generally. Stay classy and praise the sun, from Guy.
Do you want to go through Amanda's tragic high school experience? You're looking at the time. You're like, we don't got time for this shit.
It's up to you. It's totally up to you.
I don't care. So my high school experience is chopped up into various like groups of friends.
Yeah.
Freshman and sophomore year, cheerleader.
Yeah.
Had a bunch of friends. Stopped being friends with one of them. Turned out all of those friends were her friends and not mine.
Oh, no.
And so junior year, had rocks thrown at my head, had girls call me up and threaten to beat me up.
What?
Had girls follow me with video cameras for some reason.
That's not legal.
Then I got a boyfriend. And so like senior year was time with boyfriend.
Right.
And then college, most of college was with boyfriend.
Yeah.
So it was like his friends were our friends kind of thing.
Right.
And I didn't really have a lot of friends in college because I was hardcore dedicated to going to college, and then I burned myself out and dropped out. And there was a point in time where I literally sat in this is how I became somebody that like talks on the internet.
Yeah.
I ditched class so I can sit and listen to talk radio.
Yeah.
Because I loved listening to people talk. I love like podcasts before the podcasts were like a huge thing. And I was like, I want to do that. I want to fucking do that for a living. And now I make donuts and do it casually. But yeah,
filthy casual.
Yeah, but like I don't know. All the best classes I took were like world music, and I thought biological anthropology was an amazing class to take. I think world religions is a really important class to take.
You're in your high school?
No, that was in college. And classes. Art history were my favorite classes, which are also bullshit classes that don't do anything but count as extra or like the side stuff.
Yep.
In high school, the best class I ever took was cinema.
Okay.
And that pretty much changed my life. So
my high school experience was
weren't you punk as fuck?
It's white privilege garbage, because the thing is that I do not look back on my high school with fond memories, but I start trying to think of anything where like somebody beat me up or I was oppressed or somebody did me wrong. It was boring to me, like the act of going to high school and taking those stupid classes. Like, I took AP English for 4 years. It was never a problem. I remember we had a thing where we had to spend an entire semester researching for a paper, and then we had to write that paper, and it had to be like, I don't know, like 2,500 words, and it was like graded on a curve, and I literally just slept in the library every period and then like the Sunday before class, I just like sat down at the computer for like 4 hours and was just like, fuck comparative analysis of blah, 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 citations.
I didn't feel like passing high school classes was very hard.
Yeah.
I was definitely one of those people that was like almost straight A student in high school. And then I get to college and go, oh, I don't know what real work is like.
Yeah. And I don't know. I had a fair amount of, I mean, you know, when I look back on it, I don't have as much to complain about because I made a lot of my friends that I still know today. I did a lot of drugs with those friends and it was fun. And I listened to, you know, I listened to all the 90s music and like had long hair and I wore my Jinkos and my flannels and my Doc Martens and, you know.
Yeah. See, that's cool though. You were cooler than I was in high school because
a drummer in a punk rock band.
See, that's fucking neat. I was a stick in the mud. Like I was a cheerleader. I never touched drugs. I never drank alcohol. I never did the alcohols.
Yeah.
I never went to parties.
Right.
Even when I had friends, I was never invited to their parties because I wouldn't have gone anyway.
Right.
And I never took it like a thing. And I prided myself on it. So I was like a stick in the mud that thought I was better than people. It took me a long time to get humbled to be the person that I am today.
I would have thought the Rocks would have done a little bit of that.
That did do a little bit of it, but initially it kind of really made me feel like I was right.
Yeah.
Look at them. They're so shitty.
Right.
Look at me. I don't do the things they do, and I'm a better person. I'm the one that's having rocks thrown at me. But,
right.
I mean, in the long run, it was, they were shitty, and those things shouldn't have happened. But also, like, I was a stick in the mud, and I wasn't, like, enjoying my youth the way I should have.
See, I think that the thing that probably stuck out more for me than anything in high school, and the reason I probably didn't have a super great time was because in the hierarchy of various cliques in my high school, I was relatively towards the bottom of the alternative crowd.
Did it matter? Like, were cliques a thing for you guys?
Yeah, it kind of did. I mean, like, everybody else was more punk rock as fuck, and that was the mid-'90s, and so I was never able to...
Did they, like, you have to prove how punk rock as fuck you are?
Yeah, sort of. I mean, it was more alternative than that. I mean, you know, that was kind of...
You had to prove how grunge you are?
Yeah.
You're not grunge enough.
It was...
Billy went to Seattle for a weekend. You're not half as grunge as him.
It was mostly just self-esteem, I realize at this point.
Oh, yeah,
just
for
like,
sure.
Because I meet people that I went to high school with, and they're like, weren't you in like 12 bands? Like, didn't you do that one thing? Didn't you dress up like a girl for Halloween one year? And I'm like, yeah, I did all that. And they're like, yeah, I remember you. And I'm like, all right, hey, guy, nice.
Right,
oh, yeah. I'm like, fuck you, I don't know. Like, I kept 4 friends from high school and then just like deleted the rest of it. And then I went to college when I was in my like late 20s.
Mm-hmm.
So I had worked in the computer industry for like 15 years before I went there. So college was I just hung out with the professor. He's one of my good friends. He lives right down the street from me.
Yeah, and I imagine college is a little different if you don't like start right away, like go from high school to...
It was also community college. It was also art college. So mostly it was just, I excelled because the community art college here in town is a good college.
Mm-hmm.
It's good at like technical training and teaching you stuff that would do well. I mean, I learned everything I know about animation from that place. But hey, I'm Greg, all right? I animated that shit. Anyway, but the thing is that I got really frustrated with the other people, like whenever there was a group project, because there were a lot of talented artists, but there were a lot of people who had never in their life come up against a thing as crazy as a deadline, so they like just wouldn't do their projects. And I'm just like, nah, I feel bad.
Yeah,
you're wasting your time. Like, you're gonna fail this drawing class, and you're a decent artist. Just draw stuff. What? Just
like, I can't make it happen. The magic happens on its own, Jeff.
There's also a lot of people in art class that are
douches,
have different needs, shall we say? Some that act out like crazy. Are
they like, this is how artists act, so I'm going to act like an artist?
No. These are people who have to file paperwork with like the Office of Student Disabilities.
Okay.
And the thing is that I watched my teachers try their best in a lot of cases to mollify them. But like, I remember one semester there was this girl that was in like 4 classes, and I had one of them with her, and she would just literally scream at the teacher about, why are you being so mean to me, when he's like, do you have your assignment? Like, it was due today.
Yeah.
And this. And it was just a fucking nightmare.
Yeah.
Anyway, I had a decent time in college. I went to 2/3 of an art degree, and then I went to SPIL. So, and I'm still friends with some of the better artists that I knew in there. My teacher, mostly people that were as old as I was. It's funny too, because when I went to college, I was like 27, and my friends were like, because, you know, I had a hard time dating in my life, and they were just like, go out. Like, and I was like, well, yeah, there's all these like funky, crazy art girls in school. Like, yeah, date them. And I'm like, guys, I don't know if they're like 16 or like 40. Like,
yeah, that is also the problem with community college, is that it's kind of anybody. It can be like, you could still totally be in high school, and you can totally be like...
They could honestly be either. Yeah. And the only way to know would just be like, hey, before I talk to you anymore, how old are you? Yeah. Because I don't...
Also, if she's in art classes... That'd be sticking your dick in crazy. That automatically. You already know.
Well, okay, but listen.
She's not going to be a manic pixie dream girl. No, she's just manic bipolar dream girl.
No, this is the reason that I want to ask how old they are, because I don't want to date a 20-year-old. I, at that point, wanted to date a 27-year-old because I dated more than 7 years younger than I was one time. Actually, I dated somebody that I believe was a decade younger than me one time. No, maybe. Can't remember the specifics. In any case, it wasn't really good because we knew none of us had anything to talk about, because it was just like no cultural experience, shared cultural
You're like,
experience.
how about the 90s? And she's like, I hear it happened once.
I was 10. And I'm like, oh, no, come on. Anyway, thanks for your question, Guy. This one is from, I'm going to say M. M says, welcome, Jeff and Amanda. I think pre-orders or DLC are ending for day one purchases. Recently, I pre-ordered the digital download for Horizon Zero Dawn, $70 version just for the DLC, but regretted it. I'm trying to fight the urge, but I'm thinking about getting Battle of Middle-earth and Mass Effect 4 with the DLC, hoping to have a repeat of the Witcher 3 DLC purchase. Any advice? Thanks, from M.
I'm looking at you. I don't know.
M, here's the thing. Your season pass, if you buy it when you buy the game, you're probably going to save about $10. You can wait and see if the DLC is worth it before you buy the season pass. You can buy it one DLC at a time, and maybe you're going to spend an extra $20. Now, I know that, everybody's different. $20 is a lot of money for some people, right? You want to save that money.
Yeah, it's a hell of a lot. That's a lot of Taco Bell, Jeff.
It's a lot of Taco Bell. It's like there's like 5 meals at Taco Bell if you work it.
And I do.
Work that Taco Bell, girl. I use the mobile app. That's how I'm working it. Jason Murphy taught me on the Modern Rogue. Here's the thing. If you don't get the pre-order bonuses, most of the time they're not worth anything. And the deluxe edition that comes with the DLC the DLC can be purchased later. So if you really, 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 really want the pre-order bonus, which I almost feel is never a thing, except when it involves killing Hitler. The only time I'll make an exception.
I mean, okay, so all I know is that the deluxe version of Mass Effect comes with a space monkey.
Yeah. You want the space monkey.
That sounds worth it to me. I mean, I'm just saying. I don't know if it's a real space monkey that gets sent to your home.
Yeah.
Or it's one of those things where, like, they name a star after you and they're like, there's floating space monkeys.
A constellation of space monkeys?
Yeah, that they just have, like, from when NASA used to shoot monkeys up into space. And that if you get the deluxe edition, they will name that monkey after you.
That second one was incredibly complicated.
Yeah.
I had one beer and I'm just like, and then, okay, but they shoot the monkeys. The monkeys are
already
real
in space.
They're real space monkeys.
Yeah.
So we're just shooting a whole bunch of monkeys.
They just shot them in because they needed.
Oh my God, we had 450,000 pre-orders. Get all the monkeys.
Is that not how it works?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
Just don't do it, man. There's nothing that's worth it. There's nothing worth pre-ordering a video game. I mean, yeah, sometimes, okay, unless you get to kill Hitler, it's not worth it. And the DL, and especially if it's to get the season pass, because you can always buy the season pass. Season pass ain't going away.
Yeah.
It's not like it's time limited. They're never going to give it to you. You just got to kind of come to a decision about that. Just always remember that if you tell a company that you'll buy a product sight unseen, then they have less motivation to make sure that that product is excellent because they've already got your money.
Yeah.
They have your money already. They could put out garbage on a plate, and it could be the Order 1886, Aliens, Colonial Marines. Pick your disappointing game of choice. So just remember that No Man's Sky, could be another No Man's Sky. Need to load up that new update and see if it's any good.
Why?
Oh, there's a dune buggy. You driving around. Whatever.
Well, you lose it and spend an hour trying to find it.
Yeah. All right. We're going to do one more question, and then we're going to be done. I'm going to call this one is from Vlad. Says, hello, Jeff and sweet honey mustard flavored co-host.
That's me.
I was wondering if I could get your thoughts on a debate that me and my friends have been getting into for a while. See, I believe since 2014 and 2017 that we've been in what I like to call the dark ages of video games. I simply think, hopefully, until now, video games haven't been as great as they used to be. Sure, there have been games that I'd outright say I loved, but just don't keep me as interested as much as games on the PS2 or even PS3 used to. Games like Far Cry 4 and Wolfenstein are fantastic, but I just don't have that drive to beat as, say, something like Infamous or BioShock. I'd love to articulate more, but I'd like to keep it short, so I'm just going to ask, do you guys agree with me on this? Do you guys think that there might just be something wrong with me? Or maybe I'm just suffering from the fact that there hasn't been an Infamous game in years. As always, keep up the badass work, and praise be to the Dong Lords. That's from Vlad. Made-up name. What do you think, Amanda? Are we at a bad time for video games?
No.
I don't think so either.
I think we have a nice opening for a lot of independent stuff to come out. That's pretty good. And there's also, I think, a lot of really decent games. Like I'm enjoying Horizon Zero Dawn right now, and you're enjoying Zelda. I think it's partially. I hate to throw this out because I feel like a lot of people use it as a this is why you like something.
Right.
But I feel like what Vlad is talking about might be a little nostalgia. It might be a little bit of like, this is the age of gaming that I got into gaming.
Maybe.
And so you kind of get well into it. There, of course, have been some pretty like bad years of gaming in between what he's talking about and now, but there have also been some really decent games that have come out in between there. So it's I don't know.
There's a few things that do back up what Vlad is saying. I was trying to say Vlad and back at the same time, and I just said black. Remember, Vlad, that like PS3 era, I bought a PS3 launch year. It took like 2.5 years before there was anything worth a damn, or the stuff that was worth a damn, it ran like shit on the PlayStation 3. Like, that was just a cross that I bore for a while because I had one console and I spent like $750 on it because it was that stupid expensive PlayStation 3.
It was hella expensive.
It was. BioShock, for example, Didn't come out on the PlayStation 3 until I believe like a year to a year and a half after it came out on the Xbox 360. So, also remember that in the PlayStation 2 era, there were a lot of good games, but there were also a lot of games on the PlayStation 2, including a lot of real bad games.
Yeah.
Real bad games.
Yeah. There's a series of stores here in Austin called Game Over Video Games.
Yeah.
And when you look at the PlayStation 2 section, it always kind of looks like there's just games that were released to be released. Like, they don't really look like anything much.
Yeah. There's a lot that are just, they're bad. They're real bad. It's like kind of like the Steam store before the Steam store. So, Vlad, I'm going to say it's entirely possible, and this is not, it depends on your own personal thing. I think that there are fewer games now than there used to be. Like, I'm in an advantageous position of being able to play anything on any platform, right? But if I just had a PlayStation 4, I couldn't play the new Zelda. I couldn't play Stories Untold. I couldn't play... there's other stuff that I couldn't play, right? So if you're limited to one console, I can see where that could maybe be an issue.
Yeah.
Now, the PlayStation 4, I feel like, has a much bigger library with crazy amount of stuff on it than the Xbox or the Wii U or the Switch is kind of like whatever.
Yeah.
But it's like 2 weeks old.
Less than the Switch.
Right. But it's also worth remembering, of course, that the longer that the times that you're talking about pre-2014 were like the end generation of the PlayStation 3 console. Like, they had gone through, and the Xbox 360 for that matter, they had gone through a lot of growing pains to get to a place where they were making games that looked as good as those boxes could possibly look. They had worked out a lot of the kinks about a lot of different things. You're talking about the last generation of games to come out on those platforms.
Yeah.
So I feel like, you're getting the best. You're getting the best sequels of a bunch of franchises. You're getting stuff like The Last of Us, from on the end of the PlayStation 3. You also had Persona 4 was, it does PlayStation 2, but there was a lot of stuff that was coming out. Black Flag was on the last PlayStation 3 game, or one of the last ones that I remember before I got a PS4, because the PS3 disc for Black Flag will let you play Black Flag on the PS4, crazily enough. But I also remember that it takes a lot more to make a video game nowadays than it used to.
Yeah.
And also, don't ever discount the stuff in the store that's not a AAA game. Like, all the stuff that you've listed off are AAA games. Far Cry 4, Wolfenstein, Infamous, BioShock. There's a lot of crazy, groovy indie games out there that I feel like... Night in the Woods, you and I played, right? Like, go...
I'm distracted by you saying groovy, but yeah.
I say that.
There's a lot of groovy games.
There's a lot of groovy stuff.
Rad.
For all you cool cats out there in Radio Land. But yeah, I don't know. I think that it's also very, very easy to make a case at any point in history for why any popular culture segment is essentially on the decline. And I feel like people have been making that for years. And as you get older, you don't have the chance to see things for the first time as much anymore. So you kind of have to dig a little bit deeper to find your childlike wonder when you're playing the millionth open world game that you've ever played in your life.
Yeah.
As opposed to the first time that you played one and you were just like, what? So don't count the old video games out just yet, Vlad. Maybe just take a break. Like, maybe just take a siesta. Get into books for a while, or comics, or like art house French new wave cinema and
Jesus
trumpet jazz or something. I don't know. Grow a mustache, smoke cigars.
Grow a mustache as if he can't do anything else while growing the mustache.
No, I'm saying while you're listening to your French new wave jazz,
right, of course.
Grow a mustache and
do a little experiment.
Yeah.
See what your mustache looks like when you're listening to different music.
Wear suspenders and a wife beater and one of those little newsboy caps, and just go outside.
Hold a baguette.
Yeah, hold a baguette. Pretend like you're French. Go wah ha ha ha. Your life will be fine.
Why? This used to be about video games, Jeff.
After 2 years, your life will suck to the point where you'll go play any video game. You'll be like, oh my God, this is amazing.
This is the greatest. Also,
check out the new Doom game. It was really good. And that's it. So, Amanda, thank you very much for coming by.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Let us know, everybody, in the comments what you think about any number of things that we have said. Remember, be cool. Like, just be cool. That's the general thing.
Maybe, like, chill.
Keep calm and don't go to Metacritic or don't rate a thing. I've never rated a thing on a thing in my life. I've never like written a user review for a thing in my entire life.
Yeah.
I feel no need. But and with that, yeah, I think we're done. So good night, everybody. It is now 3:00 in the morning.
Goodness.
Have fun.